So joining me here in studio is THELMA AKYERE Hayford. He is with OXFAM and also EU Enough. I want to talk about what exactly means for women to mark this day, 8th March, as International Women's Day. Welcome to 101 THELMA.
Thank you very much.
Nice to have you here this morning.
Nice being here.
Grateful. Now, let's begin with the fact that there's a single day to mark women or to pay homage to women. That itself, how does it make you feel as a woman?
Okay, thank you very much. It makes me feel very, very recognized that the whole world has set aside a day in the year to actually focus on issues that pertain to women and girls as a whole. The International Women's Day is a UN global celebration of women achievement, and the feminist movement to try to bring about gender equality in society. And as we would know, issues pertaining to women and girls and gender as a whole takes various forms depending on the social context in which it plays out. So it's for each nation or each society to own that day, which is the 8th of March, and then use it to focus on the things that they have been calling out duty bearers and stakeholders and their governments to actually pay attention to. And Ghana is no different.
And great one there. So a quick one again. THELMA AKYERE Hayford is gender advisor for OXFAM and also project manager and also EU Enough, like I told you earlier. But one will ask, a day to mark women, is it enough?
Well, a day is never enough. In fact, a whole year is never enough, because we do acknowledge that the issues that we have been grappling with as women, what we've been fighting for, what we've been promoting to achieve that gender equality has a tall list, and a day will not be enough to exhaust all that pertains to women equality in Ghana and the world over. However, we celebrate the one day that we have and we make the best of it. So to answer you, indeed, a day is never enough. Yes.
And so this year's theme for the celebration is digital. In some way, you can say digital,
yes,
but it is spelled as digital. And it reads here as digital innovation and technology for gender equality. Why this theme?
Well, we do appreciate the fact that the world is evolving, and more and more time is being spent on the digital space. The cyberspace and technology and its interventions have become a part of our lives. I mean, at home, at work, everywhere we find ourselves, we interact with the digital space. And therefore, it's important to speak about or talk about ways to create a safe haven on the digital space or in the cyberspace for women and girls to also express themselves. You know, even in as much as we are advocating for equality in the real world, in real time, there are other issues that pertain to the digital space that if we do not pay attention to, years from now, we would realize that, yes, there's a huge digital gap between men and women that we did not discuss from the get-go. So this year's theme is very, very relevant to us. And also looking at the ways that we can use technology and digital interventions to help bridge that divide. So whilst we're talking about the dangers that women face online, and trying to create a safe haven online for women, and how we can also use digital interventions to support the promotion of women and girls courses, we can also discuss the policies and the laws that we can call on duty bearers to start implementing or putting in place to protect that space for women and girls to also express themselves however they want to.
I'll come to some of these legal and issues facing women that you want to call for help and all that. But until we get to that side, tell me, what are some of the issues on the internet that you think should be brought to the attention of the general public, like you mentioned earlier?
Okay, well, access to technology itself, we see there's a huge gender gap. We can tell from studies that more men and boys have access to, they can use the technology to access resources more than women on an average.
And why is that?
Well, I would say it's an issue of capacity. we have not been able to focus on women and girls and build their capacity well to access technology. When we go to the rural areas, you tend to find more boys, being having access to technology than girls. It's a matter of education. It's a matter of discrimination against girls in some of these settings. So, firstly, there's a huge gap there's a huge gender gap that we need to overcome. And then now getting onto the technology space itself, there's also issues of cyberbullying, online gender-based violence, harassment, and other forms of threats that takes place online. We also know of girls who are trafficked online. We have the red rooms on the dark web where girls are kidnapped and trafficked and harmed for public views. And these are some of the things: exploitation of girls online by boys and women. So these things happen on the regular that we need to start touching on before it blows up in our faces.
So there's been a conversation about women's economic empowerment, and I want to find out. I mean, I don't think it started today. Okay, so when we say women economic empowerment, what is the target, and what do you mean by that?
Well, women economic empowerment is basically geared towards getting women the necessary access to the necessary resources to make returns for themselves economically. By so doing, we find that at home, when a woman is economically empowered, the home or the functioning of the home is very harmonized. The mother being the central figure who is well empowered to support the husband, and then the children's welfare. We see that there's a very well nurtured home setup, and so we believe that we have to actually focus on how to bring women to that place where they can easily access the necessary resources to empower themselves economically, be it on a business scale, be it on maybe bookkeeping, additional income sources. We have to explore ways of getting our women to own their own wealth and be able to impact society through that.
But when you speak of women empowerment economically, how can technology play a role in all this?
So technology comes in to expedite the access to the necessary information and the necessary social services to support the woman on the journey of becoming economically empowered. So for instance, if I have a phone or an app that is virtual, that can assist me as a woman to access loans, and I do not know how to actually go around the app, I am disadvantaged over a male counterpart who can just pick the phone and maybe access a soft loan with a bank or any other microfinance agency. So the access to resources, access to financial support, we can channel it through technology to make it accessible to people in any part of the country. Yes, so that it's very, very, technology becomes the centralization of accessing resource and support for women on the journey to economic empowerment.
I was about to ask you to take me through some of the successful technological initiatives that could help women when it comes to empowering them economically, but you've taken me through them. You've mentioned loan apps and all that. Are there any other?
Yes, so for instance, OXFAM Ghana has a project. It's called the WeAct project, and for such a project, we have a tech partner that is Viamo Digitals that has actually worked on a helpline for women to call and access information on how to get access to economic resources to help them to be economically empowered. So the platform is on all networks. They have integrated it with all networks. So there's a short code that you call, and then you get the necessary information. Yes, and the thinking through this platform is that it's not every woman that can read maybe an SMS message that comes back when you key in some of these short codes. Usually you get the SMS telling you on what next to do. They are actually pre-recorded
voice notes.
Yes, voicemails that even without education in various local languages. So even without the literacy skills, you can still hear the feedback that you need to take the next steps. So this is one of such innovative ways that we have rolled out technology in our campaign to get more women economically empowered.
And what role does innovation plays in such conversation?
Oh, it plays a very, very prominent role, because, like I said earlier, we are trying to reach a larger base. We are trying to roll out the support that women need on a national scale, and technology is everywhere now. It's just a matter of having a phone, be it smart or a phone that is not connected to the internet. You can access it. So I believe the technology is more of a catalyst to help us achieve the desired goals that we have, which is to see to it that more people have access to information and resource.
So the conversation about women is not just about economical empowerment. Sometimes it goes down the hill and it gets to violence. Let's not talk about violence in women or that involve women. Sometimes they end up losing their life and all that. Now, according to you, is there any research from your end that suggests that the numbers keep going up? And if so, how are you going to fight this by the use of technology, as the theme talks about?
Okay, so like you rightly mentioned, the fact that there's something as menacing as gender-based violence existing in our society that we are still dealing with is a dent on our image as a country, and based on the fact that we have very little reporting, it is very important that we try to make the survivors have quick anonymous access to the agencies that can give them the support that we need. We still have issues of low reporting because as a society, we haven't come to a place where we actually try to encourage people to speak up about the violence that they experience. We still have a lot of work to do.
Isn't it part of fear of victimization?
There is a fear of victimization, right? But there's also the culture that is very accepting of the fact that a man can beat his wife and get away with it. I mean, there are incidents when, a survivor has been beaten and is in a very poor state, and her neighbors and other women, I must say, are telling her that if you report to the police or the authorities, your husband will be taken away. And who will give you money for chop money? Who will take care of the children? So there again, it ties into that the lack of economic freedom, the dependence on our male counterparts, yes, for economic sustainability. That is why people are still underreporting. However, if we bring in technology, like I have on my project, the EU Enough project, which is targeting sexual and gender-based violence, I have VIAMO as well and other partners as well on this project, and they have also come up with a platform, a 321 helpline platform. You call the 321, you key in the short code, and then on all networks, you get assistance. You are linked to DOFSU and the Orange Support Center to actually report your case or any incidents that you have witnessed to the authorities. So this role of technology is to actually help us to beef up the reporting of incidents, and also to help survivors to know that there's help available for them, and they can access it through the comfort of their telephones at the comfort of their homes.
And so, like she's saying, in case you have been abused by your partner or anything, you don't necessarily have to walk to the police station or to a traditional leader in your area. Just go online and just type it in, because, like you mentioned, the fear of victimization is a big problem. And it's a big issue, because, I mean, like your colleague lady in the village will tell you, if you go and report your husband to the police or security personnel, they will arrest him. How do you feed? That's a big problem. But then, aside this particular initiative that you've mentioned, when you go online, cybersecurity issues, also another problem for women. Tell me about that.
Okay, so cybersecurity issues for women, it's been manifest in various ways. There are subtle, sexist texts that women receive.
Like cyberbullying?
Yes, they come in various forms. So sometimes they are subtle in how they are delivered, or they are targeting maybe the woman's body in a way to undermine her confidence. Or, for instance, a woman is going into leadership. It is online that you will see people digging up her past, digging up posts that she made years ago to actually intimidate her in her quest to go into leadership.
I don't think such things only have to do with women. I think men also go through such things. Where,
I acknowledge that men also go through it, but when we look at how much of a challenge the woman has had to overcome to actually put herself there in the leadership position, and to have that thrown back at her, it is likely that it will also, the impact of it is that young girls and other women who may want to go into the space of leadership would shy away from that public exposure because of the fear of cyberbullying. So the impact on women is more dire than men, if I can put it that way.
But so now, I'm trying to ask you, how do we fix this? But then the answer will end up being, don't end up pushing things that you think might come back to hurt you in the near future online. But aside that, what are some of the alternatives to deal with this?
Well, we have the Cyber Security Authority. A bill has been passed, and so people have to know that the law actually exists to protect all users of the cyberspace. All users are protected. However, any breach that hitherto we were ignoring, you would face the law for any breach of someone's rights in the digital space, because we have the laws pertaining to it in Ghana. The Cyber Security Authority is working around the clock to resolve some of these issues that are reported. So, for instance, about 5-10 years ago, leaking nude photos online was a thing to intimidate. It's not just for fun. Some of these things are done to intimidate not just the victim, but other women in that space. It's a threat, or to keep people in abusive relationships, where we've had incidents where women have said, I want to leave this abusive relationship, but he tells me he would take my pictures online, my explicit pictures online, and embarrass me, so I would stay. So when this was a thing of the past, when this was very prominent back in the days, now we have incidents where people have been, taken to court and fined or punished, made to face the full rigors of the law because they opted to leak explicit pictures of their partners on the internet. So the judicial system is also there to protect people who are abused on the cyberspace. And I also believe that the other forms of stereotyping and sexist comments and personal attacks aimed at women and girls are also going to become a thing of the past, because we have the law and then the systems actually to protect women. But we do need to speak about it. We do need to educate more people, our boys especially, about the implication of some of these things they do on the net, on social media, and in any space they find themselves.
Now, I know you mentioned boys and men and all that, but in the normal women setting, we know that there's been a call for women to help one another, so that when there's a problem, they can help themselves. But it looks like we still have the issue of women not helping the other, or women not uplifting the other woman. Is that issue still persistent, and how are they supposed to deal with that?
Okay, so this age-old mantra of women are their own enemies and all that, I think that has evolved with time, with education, with sensitization, and with women seeing how far they can go if they are able to support themselves to rise to a certain level. And so, because it's very necessary that we help each other, right? Because in an environment where, a society where we are, the ratio is 50-50, we have to actually put in more efforts to bring our agenda to a place where we are sitting at the decision-making tables, so that laws and policies that affect us directly, we have a say in those policies. So, for instance, I didn't want to go there, but I have to.
I mean, it's March 8th.
Yes.
We are marking women, their capabilities, and make sure that they are safe worldwide. So let's go there. I mean, we are committed to go there.
So for women, for us to get to a place where we can actually be at par with our male counterparts in positions of leadership and in spaces where we can actually influence policies that affect us, we have to take on mentorship very seriously. I will say I have not encountered any form of women casting each other down, and on this special day, I would want to say for a fact that I have enjoyed mentorship from various women to actually rise to my fullest potentials. Women in the workplace, women that I look up to in my own personal life and in society. So for us to be able to overcome that gap that exists, I think we should focus more on mentoring people that have an interest in an area that we can support in. So for instance, if you are on a certain career path, you can start by mentoring someone or looking up to another mentor to also help you to expand your scope. So I think that is one area that we can focus on, and also we can do more of the awareness creation and sensitization of how much we can accomplish if we are able to support each other as women to meet our, to get to our highest potential.
And so, talking about helping one another and during their career path, I know there's an all-female school in Ghana, a secondary school in Ghana, a government all-female school in Ghana. Whenever they go back for their reunions and all that, some of the alumni are given students as their guide. So, if I want to be a pilot, and let's say there's somebody who's working in the aviation sector, I'm able to mentor the person.
Yes.
So even before you come out of secondary school, you know that at least it's another woman who is willing to help you hold your hand throughout your career and all that, which is a good initiative. Maybe any of the schools or any of that secondary school can adapt that and make it work. Did you encounter that in secondary school?
No, I didn't encounter that when I was in secondary school. The alumni team was available to assist us however we needed. But it was in my career area, in the world of work, is when I actually saw the benefits of mentorship, being under someone who has blazed the trail and is already where you want to get to. So it was from my first job at Chauvel Consulting that I encountered my first female mentor and someone I look up to, Madame Phyllis Christian, and then it scaled up to other areas where I came into contact with women in various areas that I admired, and then I was able to tap into their experiences and grow and also widen my network. So there are mentorship groups, or there are women collectives out there that are offering some form of support and mentorship opportunities for young women in tertiary institutions and in the world of work. I know of Eve Women Network it's by the Lady Julia, the wife of Otumfuo Osei-Tutu. She has formed that network for young women to come into contact with astute women in society, and we've worked with them. Oxfam's Gender Justice and Social Inclusion pillar has worked with them to scale up some of our projects and our programs to young women.
To young women.
Yes.
And so shouts to Fantiman Senior High School. They do that a lot. Anytime they go in for their reunions and all that, they make sure that every alumnus is given either one or two students in the school to ensure that they help them build upon their careers and advise them on their career path. A good one there, shouts to them.
I'm actually a MOGA. I'm actually a product of Infantiman Girls Secondary School. Yes, yes.
I didn't even know. Yes. I didn't even know. You're still watching one here on the you still there, so you're back from the broken ball. So interestingly, Thelma is telling me she's an old student of Infantiman. I didn't even know, but that's nice.
Yes.
Nice to meet. Nice to meet. How do you say what?
A MOGA.
A MOGA.
Yes.
She said it with full chest. A MOGA. Interesting one there. Welcome back to one master like here on Metro TV. We are talking about gender focus on women as March 8th is the world coming to a standstill to say respect women or mark women and what exactly they deserve in the society. But I want to find out between equity and equality, what is the fight for?
Well, the fight is for gender equality. We would get to a place of equity by first acknowledging that there are problems, there are barriers that women face, and so on the spectrum, we are much further behind than our male counterparts who have been over the years getting access to some opportunities to advance their potentials. So first, we are on a pathway to bring women to the place of equality, and then we can discuss the conversation of equity, how we distribute the resources and opportunities available to us, irrespective of people's gender and expression, and taking cognizance of the special cases of each person, and then letting them access the needed resource that they need to get to their highest potential. So we are on a path. We are talking equality, but we'll get to that place where equity is also on the table, when we've been able to overcome the barriers that exist in our society.
And is there a time frame for that? Let's say looking at the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, from equality to equity?
We can expedite the timeline, but currently we still have a lot to do. We are bringing more attention to the barriers that exist. And wonderfully, we've had our male counterparts who we educate on some of the challenges that face us in society because of the patriarchal setup of our society. We've had male allies come on board and say, oh, really? This is the challenge that women face? Because we let them, take that perspective or that experience or view from our side to know how the challenges that we face, and then now they acknowledge it and appreciate it. And for those who have daughters, they are quick to say, oh, we need to do better because I have daughters who tomorrow may be facing these challenges. So
can we end that?
Yes, so we have a lot of support, but we do need much more support to expedite that timeline that we have set for ourselves to achieve gender equality. The Affirmative Action Bill is much older than me, and it's about time that we actually go back to the table to finally give it full assent, so that we have a very fair society where women can achieve their highest potential. I mean, we look at other countries implemented the Affirmative Action Bill, and we are in awe of what women have been able to achieve. For instance, Rwanda, where they have 51% of parliament being female and 51% of all appointments being female, and we see the great strides that they are making as compared to Ghana. So these are the little interventions that we believe can expedite the gender equality conversation.
And once these things are enshrined in the law, it becomes more easier to be executed.
Yes.
Now, anytime you hear or you see men react with shock to what women go through, what runs through your mind, or how does that make you feel?
I get excited, because the fact that men are able to access certain spaces that we will not be able to access and carry the message further, it makes the work easier for me. And I have to acknowledge the fact that partners on the EU Enough project have made it an integral part of their objectives to include male champions. So the likes of partners in the North, if I can mention them, North SAC, ProNet North, Rise Ghana, Ruwa Ghana, and Women and Orphans movements have all incorporated engaging men and boys to stand up against sexual and gender-based violence and other issues pertaining to women. So we have some of them becoming legal literacy volunteers. They are in the community to champion or police their fellow men to not, commit any acts of gender-based violence against their women. And then they would actually lead the reporting process for women to access justice. And this is a very good success story that we've had from the EU Enough project. And also, even when we come to the south, to the southern part of Ghana, my partners on this project like Wildaf Ghana, GLOWA in Techiman, the likes of Aula, Women in Law and Development. We have other partners on the project that are also pushing this male champion conversation to the core, because like I said, men can access spaces that women cannot at any point in time. They can sit down together as men and discuss where the root cause of, why we widely accept abusing our partners, where did it come from? Is it from our upbringing? What can we do to influence our boys and our children so that they do not do same? So I believe when I see men get excited and actually, come on board full throttle to support us, I get very excited, and I like working with my male champions on the EU Enough project a lot.
Have you ever worked with some male partners where you thought you were being bullied?
No.
How did you deal with that?
Oh no, not on this.
Did you get reports of such incidents?
Yes, definitely get incidents of bullying of some survivors. We still have a lot of work to do to get the greater part of society to accept that any form of abuse is not right. Bryce, we are still in an era where some people think that when you beat your partner, it shows love. So we are still working on the psyche of.
But interestingly, I've read quite some interesting stories on Twitter and Facebook where women also get to share that they feel loud when their partners abuse them. I don't know if you've heard such stories.
Yes, it's both ways. The acceptance of the violence being meted on the woman, and how it has become a part of our society's fabric and thinking, and the fact that the person perpetrating it too sees the acceptance of the act. So we work on both genders to bring them to a place where they realize that it's a human rights issue. It's not just, it's a human rights issue that is being infringed upon. So we have to do better as a society to frown against any form of abuse on women.
Now, so she earlier spoke about the fact that in Rwanda, about 51% of women are government employed. But here in Ghana, what is the case? So just about days ago, we have the GSS government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobinainim, coming out with some research work indicating that still here in Ghana, the pay gap is different. I know you might have seen the report, or even the number of women who are employed in the government sectors is really not as much to the number of men who are employed in the government sectors, and the salaries they are even taking and all that. How do you react to this?
Okay, so this incidence of unfair pay wages is one that is very unfortunate to even speak about in the 21st century, in 2023, but it's there. Statistics show that women have been, firstly, the employment of women has come under a lot of scrutiny, because more and more employers are showing a bias for employing male applicants, because of the notion that a woman will, on the average, take maternity leave, and that's a loss of man hours that the employer can be gaining. So they would opt for male applicants, and that is a very unfortunate expression of a woman's rights. And also, apart from that, too, the fact that there's unequal pay for people who have the same qualification and are doing the same job. And dare I say, women are doing more than the men.
It's just smart enough to say that.
Because we bring multiple angles to our work ethics.
Okay,
And
I can let that slide.
It's International Women's Day. Yes, so we need to actually adopt a gender-friendly, gender working model, a gender working policy. And as part of the EU Enough, we have proposed a gender working policy that would take cognizance of how to support women. One, the employment of women, and how to not skew the requirements or the job description to favor male counterparts, and two, to overwrite the existing policy of paying men more than women in the world of work, and also to help make the workplace a very safe and supportive environment for a woman who is returning from going on labor, going on maternity leave, coming back into the world of work, how she can be best supported to, do her duties of being a new mother and also an employee. So this policy has also been developed. We are in talks with stakeholders in Ghana, the Employment and Labor Commission, to actually adopt it and scale it up for both public and private sector use. As part of
I want
project.
to be educated. I want to be able to treat my female counterpart well when they come back from their maternity leave, like you just mentioned. how should they be treated, and how should we also react towards them? I know there must be their postpartum depression and all that they might be going through after birth. But then, how should they be treated at our workplaces?
Any form of support, any way you can support them as a colleague, you can offer that support as well. But then we would most of the bulk of the asks that we are making of us as a society is on the part of government and employers. So if it is possible, based on the setup of your organization or the nature of the work that she's doing, if it is possible for us to have like a nursery or a breastfeeding room where she can, go in there and then breastfeed her baby if she has to bring the baby to work, because maternity leave is 3 months and we have been advised to do exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months. So if you can create a room in your organization to support women who are breastfeeding mothers, or a nursery where she can have her baby tended to while she works.
By a nanny?
By a nanny, or someone who has that childcare skills. It would augur well for the organization as a whole, because she'll be able to deliver without any form of distraction. So you as a colleague too, you can support by just engaging her to find out in which ways you can be of help to her. If you see she's carrying her huge bags with the baby's baby bottles and all that, and trying to carry her baby and trying to climb the stairs, you can assist with that as well. I mean, being humane to a new mother would make her feel welcomed and re-socialize into the world of work quicker. Yes.
Interesting. Now, I read an online article about the fact that in Spain, women are now going to be getting paid menstrual leave.
Yes.
Where you can go on leave for. You are happy about that?
I am very, very
where you
happy.
can go on leave. Anytime you see your. I'm trying to find a very nice way. Is there any nice way to say it?
So the menstrual leave
Yes.
that women are enjoying in Spain is a very welcome. We celebrated it in our own way when we heard the news. We're happy for our sisters in Spain, and we lauded the government of Spain for taking this very bold.
But that means every single month
Yes.
you have to go for
Yes,
paid leave.
it is. I mean, that whole experience, that period of menstruation comes with other forms of challenges, and it's each woman's body is different. So maybe I'll be very functional and able to work on such a day, but then a friend of mine or a colleague of mine in that window would not be able to be very functional. There's other changes that pertain to the body, the bloating, the diarrhea, and then the uncomfortableness. So we welcome this policy that Spain has put in place, and as we are dealing with our own issues on menstrual hygiene in Ghana, and how to get to a place where we can say, when it comes to sexual and reproductive rights of women, we are there. We will keep saying that some of these initiatives that other governments are taking, our government should also take a look at these and consider them and contextualize them in our Ghanaian society as well. We would welcome this with open arms.
In our setting, how difficult or how easy will it be for such an initiative to be accepted by government and make sure that every single corporation goes by it?
It will be very difficult for governments to implement
the Ghanaian government?
Yes, because as it stands now, we are already talking about the fact that when it comes to employment, there's a preference for male applicants over female applicants for the mere reason that a woman has a very natural reproductive role that she has to play for society to be functional. When we don't have women giving birth, as a society, the demographics will show that we are dipping in the youth. So the government needs women to undertake this reproductive part of their lives, which is giving birth and nurturing the children to become functional members of the society. So already we are being punished in a way for this particular role that we play.
You call that punishment?
Yes, we are not getting that even employment experience as our male counterparts. And so to add the component of apart from maternity leave, getting the menstrual leave too, I'm sure employers would not want to bring more women into their organization, because it means more loss of man hours for them if we bring more women on board. But then we have to look at the bigger picture. When it's not just about your company and the outcomes, it's about the well-being of your staff and your team. So if we look at it from the fact that it's a well-being issue we are discussing, and we are trying to have a very functional society where women are able to be themselves without fear of any form of interruption in their career journey, it would augur well for the organization to actually incorporate it and adopt it as a policy to give women menstrual leave. Yes.
All right, so I'm still here with THELMA AKYERE HAYFORD. She is gender advisor at OXFAM and project manager, and also AU Enough. And we are talking everything women. March 8th, we are using that day to mark our women and say, well done. Okay, but this year it's digit all. That's digital, but then digits all. And it reads here as innovation and technology for gender equality. So what is the call to action for this year?
A call to action is we want to discuss with government to expedite the affirmative action bill being assented into full law. We are using the day to actually highlight the fact that there are gender norms and the gender stereotypes which discriminate against women. So we are calling on members of the society to look around them and to look inward. What are some of the discriminations and stereotypes you hold against women that is keeping us behind, and actually address it and change that perception or that notion that you have and drive for a very positive and inclusive society. We're also calling on government to look at how it can support the economic empowerment of women, and by so doing, incorporating technology and innovation in all its program designs to expedite the access of women to resources to empower them economically. And also we are calling on government to look at a very gender-friendly working policy to support women who are in the working field and those who are coming back from taking a break from motherhood duties. The final ask is for governments to also support women's rights in the area of land ownership. I believe that land is a very critical economic asset, and if we have laws and traditional rules that do not support women from owning lands, we are keeping them from getting to a place where they can be economically buoyant to support themselves and their families. And then a final call to government to support its stakeholders, the DOFSU, the Ministry of Gender, the Department of Social Welfare, in the fight against sexual and gender-based violence and cyberbullying. Yes.
Right. Thank you so much. But then before we wrap up the show here tonight, quickly, so what is the most interesting stereotype you've heard about women? I was about to say what's the most useless, but I realize that might be too harsh. So I'm saying, what is the most interesting stereotype you've heard about women?
The most interesting stereotype I have heard about women is the fact that we cannot lead, and when we are in the leadership place, we are unable to deliver. It's a very unfortunate assertion that is still being held on to, and it has kept a lot of our women and girls who have the potential, who have the experience, who have cut their teeth at basic levels. They've risen through the ranks and they are due for more opportunities and more spaces to influence, and then they get told that women cannot lead because we are emotional, we are erratic. That is a very unfortunate stereotype. And we have seen the world over women leaders, especially during COVID. We saw New Zealand, we saw Croatia, where women were leading and they were able to drive the numbers down for their country and provide social services for their country in the era of COVID-19. I mean, I don't know of any more difficult time for leadership to show itself and stand out than that era of COVID-19. And we saw the stuff that some of these women leaders were made of, and they were able to actually lead their country through that difficult period. So give the woman the access and she would surprise you.
And as she's talking about COVID-19, how women played a role, I just remembered that I think when the Queen died last year, we had a program here, and my colleague Sandra was telling me that Queen Elizabeth was the driver during the World War. That's a good one. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very
so
much.
I've been here with THELMA AkYERE Hayford. She is gender advisor for OXFAM and also project manager, and also EU Enough. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Moga lady was in the house. This has been one-on-one. I am Bryce and Akwesi. Thank you for watching. Bye.